chapter 14, entitled as King Pururava, enchanted by Urvasi. So, text number 7 and 8 don't have purport. We will recite text number 9 and then read the translations of others. त्यजत्यदेषु दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्राद् अहितं परैः नाहं त्वां भस्मसात् कुर्याम् स्त्रियं सान्तनिके सति त्यजत्यजेषु दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्राद् आहितं परैः नाहं त्वां भस्मसात् कुर्याम् स्त्रियं संतानेक सति त्यजेषु दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्राद् आहितं परैः नाहं त्वां भस्मसात् कुर्याम् स्त्रियं संतानिके सति दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्राद् आहितं परैः नाहं त्वां भस्मसात् कुर्याम् स्त्रियं संतानिके सति त्यजेषु दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्राद् आहितं परैः नाहं त्वां भस्मसात् कुर्याम् स्त्रियं संतानिके सति त्यजेषु दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्राद् आहितं परैः नाहं त्वां भस्मसात् कुर्याम् स्त्रियं संतानिके सति. Matajis. त्यजेषु दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्राद् आहितं परैः नाहं त्वां श्रियं संतानिके सति. What word meaning? Tyaja, deliver. Tyaja, deliver. Asu, immediately. Dushpragne, you foolish woman. Matkshetra, from the womb meant for me to impregnate. Ahitam, begotten. Paraihi, by others. Na, not. Aham, I. Tvam, you. Bhasmasat, burnt to ashes. Kuryam, shall make. Striyam, because you are a woman. Santanike, wanting a child. Asit, asati, although you are unchaste. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Brihaspati said, "You foolish woman, your womb, which was meant for me to impregnate, has been impregnated by someone other than me. Immediately deliver your child, immediately deliver it. Be assured that after the child is delivered, I shall not burn you to ashes. I know that although you are unchaste, you wanted a son. Therefore, I shall not punish you. Purport. Tara was married to Brihaspati, and therefore, as a chaste woman, she should have been impregnated by him. But instead, she preferred to be impregnated by Soma, the moon god, and therefore she was unchaste. Although Brihaspati accepted Tara from Brahma, when he saw that she was pregnant, he wanted her to deliver a son immediately. Tara certainly very much feared her husband, and she thought she might be punished after giving birth. But Brihaspati assured her that he would not punish her, for although she was unchaste and had become pregnant illicitly, she wanted a son. Magnanatimirandasya gnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha Sri Chaitanya mano bhishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kada mayyam tadatishva padantikam vandeham shri guruho shri utaha padakamalam shri gurun vaishnavamsha shri rupam sagrajatam sahagana raghunathanvitam tvam sajivam sadvaitam savadutam parijana sahitam krishna chaitanya devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namavam Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I seek blessings of all the senior devotees here before trying to discuss something on Srimad Bhagavatam. So when I first read this translation, it says that Dushpragne, you foolish woman, mat kshetrat, for the womb meant for me to impregnate, ahitam, begotten, parehi, by others. So sometimes we find it's a direct statement that Brihaspati is mentioning to Tara, his wife, that I was supposed to impregnate you, but you got already impregnated by somebody else. So there are many such descriptions, both in Srimad Bhagavatam and also in general in Vedic literatures. So why exactly such kind of descriptions are there in the Vedas, especially which is supposed to elevate mankind, to uplift and make them go back close to Krishna? One may find why such descriptions are there. Long back, I remember when I was studying my +1, +2, I mean, it's like intermediate first year, second year, we had an English teacher who was from another religion. So he would often very indirectly criticize Sanatana Dharma. So we had also an optional subject called Sanskrit. Of course, we don't learn Sanskrit in that. It is just so that we can get a better score. So generally it is there in our board that in Sanskrit we get full marks, even if we attempt a little bit. So many people would take Sanskrit. So we had a lesson in which the whole lesson is about how a prince got attracted to a princess, and the whole that's a single lesson, which is there in prose, is about how this prince got attracted to princess and ended up marrying her and eventually having, that impregnation with her. So this English teacher, Ahmad Ali, so he said, see, all of your Vedic literatures are nothing but such descriptions only. It's all about sex. In fact, recently a group of foreigners were guided for a tour for a temple in Thiruvananthapuram. There's a very beautiful Ananta Padmanabha temple where Lord is in a sleeping posture. It's such a big deity that we won't be able to take darshan at a single dwara. You need to go to 3 dwaras to take darshan of lotus feet, navel, and then lotus face. So after this person made this group of foreigners take darshan, and then he brought these people out, and then there is a big big hall with a lot of pillars, and every pillar has in a way a naked woman, like the statue of a naked woman holding a lamp. And this guide was supposed to be an Indian. He made a comment, see, here is the Lord or God who is sleeping, and here are the women, naked women waiting outside with lamps. So it is, in one sense, it's very unfortunate that the whole such descriptions or such depictions are very badly understood. So why, even for that matter, currently 9th canto, which aims at liberation, just before a description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and 10th canto speaks certain pastimes. For example, that happened between Purava and Urvasi, and Brahaspati and Tara and Soma. And then we also see about Yayani, Devyani and Yayati. So it may appear all these pastimes have such statements like, about sex, about impregnation. One may find, what is the need? How can they describe so directly? So the first thing is that Vedic literatures are very, very honest. Even we find one such description, Ramayana, where Indra was supposed to be, not supposed to be, is one of the chief administrator of the entire universe. He comes in disguise, and he takes the form of a sage, Gautamani, just so that he could have company of Ahalya. So at one level it appears, come on, these are all universal administrators. From there, and even like now the description is about Soma, who was moon god, one of the principal demigods. How can they act like that? So Vedic literature is very, very honest. So sometimes they are very, very clear in telling that a person may be a very, very exalted in his abilities or talents, or in terms of his power to execute big, big tasks. Nevertheless, a person need not be or may not be free from such desires. And then they're very honest. See, because all this description, we see the end note. See, Yayati and Devyani, whatever happened between them, the end result is Yayati and Devyani both were looking for liberation. Same thing happened with Pururava. So the whole point is that when we read such descriptions in the Vedic literatures, we have to understand them from the right perspective. The goal is not actually to succumb to such lower desires. In fact, is to elevate ourselves. Often, elevating ourselves involves in engaging in certain activities which actually purify such desires. That's in fact, one of the main theme which may attract a Western student initially to Vedic literatures. Of course, that's the way they have been exposed. Most often, many Westerners they come in touch with Vedic literatures through the word called Kama Sutra. In fact, a lot of propaganda is done about this particular topic, both in Indian and Western civilization. So often one may feel like, come on, Vedic literatures have such guidelines about how to enjoy sex life. But the point is, the whole Kama Sutras were written by a person, Katyayana, who was a celibate monk. Now, even just take the case study, even now in India or in the world, a person who is in the renounced order or aspiring to be in the renounced order breaks a norm of not associating with opposite sex. It is considered very, very seriously. Now just imagine way back, thousands of years back, for say. Imagine, definitely Katyayana must have been really serious brahmachari, because the social structure which was existing that time, it would not be possible for him to just in the dress of renounced order and then not do the duties of the renounced order. So definitely must have followed it very well. And then such person is writing a literature like that, which can clearly indicate that the goal is not to actually to indulge in that activity or to experience that particular activity in a better way, but the goal is actually to give, because it's an aspect of knowledge which needs to be known for the people, especially for people for whom it is required, and then ultimately is to elevate from that level and then go close to Krishna. That's the goal. It's very, very clear. Otherwise, how can a person in the renounced order write such literature? Even though it may be understood wrongly in the current scenario, but nevertheless, logically also if we think, we can come to such conclusion. So now, another thing which is described, of course the previous two slokas which describe about how there is a fight that took place between demigods and demons because of the whole issue. So here, Tara was not given punishment by Brahaspati. Of course, at certain level, already she is punished. The whole reason that, for a lady of that stature, the whole thing is already happened. Big fight took place because of that case. And then already Brahma chastised her. And then, delivered her to Brahaspati. It's already such a big punishment happened. The very reason that, the whole thing happens, it's very, in a way, humiliating. So here Brahaspati doesn't punish her, saying that, anyway, you wanted to have a child, even though you have done that, no problem, I will not burn you to ashes. I'll just, but deliver the child quickly. So, we will find there is also, there is a, Manu Samhita actually says that women and Brahmanas are not supposed to be punished for the mistakes that they do. There is just to substantiate, there is also one story that comes in Adi Parva of Mahabharata. So it's the whole story is actually, some of us must have already heard a part of the story about the three famous disciples that Dhaumya Rishi had, Aruni, Veda and Upamanyu. So often we heard the story in the context of how great is the quality of Aruni, and Veda is a very genuine student, and then eventually Upamanyu gradually elevates himself to a very good level. But there is another side of the story which actually comes in the context, because the middle disciple of Dhaumya is Veda, who has another disciple eventually called Uttanka, who becomes the chief priest for the yajna that is performed by Janmeja. So actually what happens is Dhaumya Rishi somehow is very, very strict, and is very, in a way, very strict with his disciples. So generally it is understood, when a person experiences a certain negativity in his life, when he becomes leader or when he becomes in charge, he tries his level best, especially if he is genuine, he tries his level best to not to include such aspects in his behavior. Because Dhaumya Rishi was very irritable personality, was very harsh with the disciples, especially Veda, the middle student, becomes extra lenient with his disciples or with the situations around his life. However, this person Uttanka is a very wonderful student who has a very great qualities. So once, in order to perform the yajna of the king, Veda has to go out of his ashram for some time. And then he tells Uttanka, now please take care of the ashram because I am going out. It's fine. So when Veda was out with the spiritual master of Uttanka, the Guru Patni, the Veda's wife, calls for Uttanka. And then she basically proposes. She says that I am very much hesitated with desires. You please satisfy me. Uttanka, being very, the principle-centered man, he immediately refuses and then, doesn't agree with the proposal. So when Veda comes back to his ashram, he comes to the whole incident, he becomes very pleased with Uttanka. And then says that, okay, now your education is complete, you can go out. So he asks, okay, I can go out, but what is the Guru Dakshina that I am supposed to give to you? I'm supposed to. And then he says that, okay, go and ask my wife. So when I heard this part, I was really taken aback, come on, See, just now the incident happened, and then here is Veda who is sending Uttanka back to his wife. And then wife, she tells, okay, the whole story goes, I want some earrings of the queen. And the whole story comes in Mahabharata. We will not go into that part of the thing. So here, there is no mention of Veda punishing his wife. And in fact, he has such, because the way punishments were administered in Vedic civilization is not uniformed. Because the purpose of executing a punishment by a person who is responsible is not to curb the subordinate, but to elevate. Of course, you will find, what about, Gautam Rishi cursing Ahalya as well. So the whole thing is that, now you may say, Manu Samhita says women should not be punished. How can she be punished? No, they don't know. Such a dharma is very niguda. So it has to be applied as per time, place, circumstances. So the whole point is that whenever there is a question of punishment or question of disciplinary action, the end result of disciplinary action is so that a person gets elevated from his position. He gets reinstated in his devotional service, but not rejected in his devotional service. This is a small, many times it comes on disc. I'm not sure where exactly it is mentioned. Once there was a theft committed by 4 people. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So the crime committed is the same by all the 4 people, but the punishment that they received is different. The Brahmana was just told, he was just questioned, Hare, you are a Brahmana, how could you do such activity? That was just told like that. And then for Kshatriya, he was insulted, saying that you are a Kshatriya, you are supposed to be responsible. How could you do it? Don't you have any shame? And Vaishya was given a punishment of paying some fine, so and so gold coins. And then Shudra was given a punishment that you should be taken on a donkey around the village, and then they should, that sound that they make with drum, and then tell that this person has committed this mistake. So the crime committed is the same. The punishments are different for different people, and let us see the response. Just because the Brahmana was questioned, he kind of decided to take his life out. And Kshatriya decided that, let me leave the kingdom. And then Vaishya, who lost his money because of, he has to pay a fine, he felt very bad. I lost my money. And then Shudra, so he went around for a nice tour on donkey. And then he got down at his home and the tour is over. And then he told his wife, so fine, so no, dinner is ready. So then he took it. So the point is that, of course, I tried to get any reference of this particular story or whatever. I didn't get it, but nevertheless it makes sense that the different people are given punishments in different ways in Vedic culture according to their position and according to their level of consciousness. But the end result of punishment is actually to elevate a person. So here I felt at least Brihaspati was very sensitive, because I felt like already she was very much kind of, she's already like, the sloka says that she's very fearful already. So it says, okay, no problem, I'll not burn you. And another reason women and Brahmanas were not punished is because they were supposed to be educated or protected, and it is the responsibility of the people around who are supposed to make certain arrangement in terms of giving knowledge and also creating facility in such a way that weaklings are not prone to commit mistake. That's why Manu Samhita also says that half of the sin that is committed by wife goes to husband, and half of the pious activities that are done by the husband goes to wife. So if a mistake is done by wife, it goes to husband, because if mistake is performed by wife, indirectly husband also has his responsibility in that. So the whole point that we see, of course, we'll discuss fully. Next topic that I just wish to discuss a little bit is on chastity and also on brahmacharya and the result of the society when we practice these principles and the ultimate goal. These are the topics that I wish to discuss. So just want to make it clear that it's not one-sided direction, one-sided instruction. The instructions are having both sides applicable for all the parts of the people. So the punishments are given for different people in different ways. Now the next theme that Prabhupada mentions in the purport is about chastity, because Tara was supposed to be very chaste to Brihaspati and then she was not. So we will find in the Vedic literatures there are so many personalities like Savitri, Anasuya, fourth canto describes about Vaidarbi, who very faithfully with a lot of chastity she serves Malyadvaja, and Sukanya, ninth canto describes Sukanya serving Chavan Rishi, and needless to say about Draupadi, even Mandodari, she is very much glorified for having that quality of chastity. In fact, we will find when a woman exhibits the quality of chastity, she actually commands a lot of respect and dignity in the society. You will find Prabhupada mentions about a particular incident when a group of sannyasis were going in the path. There is a street sweeper who is a lady. She was sweeping and she recognizes the presence of the sannyasis and then goes side and then covers her head. And that was very much appreciated by this group of sannyasis. So when a woman becomes exhibits the quality of chastity, she actually becomes very glorified. She becomes exemplary. In fact, she becomes a guiding light for others in the society. In fact, I personally had experience. Once I remember going to one devotee's home for prasadam. And, we were in that part of South India where there was no facility. So we went there, like me and another brahmachari went to that household's place for taking prasadam. And I was very much shocked the way they served prasadam. Mataji, the wife of the host, she never came in front of us. She almost remained in the kitchen only. And the whole serving was done by the husband. And when husband was not available, their son had come to serve prasadam. She didn't even come front. So in fact, when I got that experience, I developed very deep appreciation and great regard for such, exemplary behavior. So in fact, Prabhupada writes that shyness, shame, or not shame, if a woman becomes shy, that becomes a great ornament for herself. Now, one may feel that, come on, in modern times, especially the current days, there are a lot of talk going on that everyone should be equal. There should not be any such distinction. In fact, yesterday, just to kind of prepare for the class, I was just trying to get some data. So when I was browsing one of the site, of course, I referred to Bhagavatam also, just to get some statistics. So I came across one article which is written by one modern lady, glorifying all the chaste ladies in the scriptures. And surprisingly, the conclusion is quite different. So she basically glorified some chaste ladies in the Puranas and changed the definition of chastity. And then she said, so now that's the reason everybody should be equal. Everybody should be given freedom in their own way so that they can decide about their life. So we are living in the times where not only that people don't agree with such kind of themes, but they even take certain parts of Vedic literature and give a commentary or a purport in such a way that it is completely contradicting to the very essence or the mention of chastity. So now let us see in the modern civilization where there is so much equality of man-woman is very much mentioned and then practiced. What is the end result? The end result is actually leading to exploitation of the woman. We can see in comparison to the few decades or 2-3 decades before and now, the amount of exploitation that is happening for the women has drastically increased. In fact, it's an open thing which is even spoken even by the materialist, that women are just being used as sex tools by modern media. Even to the extent that for a razor blade, which has nothing to do with utility of women, a woman is being used to propagate such, it's very unfortunate thing. So, whereas Vedic scriptures give such guidelines by which we become very, very peaceful in this very life, at the same time uplift ourselves spiritually. Now one may say, oh, come on, what is this? There are so many instructions for women about chastity. No, it is not unidirectional. There is also another aspect of such instructions for the males about brahmacharya. In fact, as much women were given instructions and guidelines to become chaste, men were also strictly recommended to follow or practice brahmacharya. And these principles are not just for the people who are in the renounced order or who are aspiring to be in renounced order. It is for even those people who are in the grahastha ashrama. In fact, even to last 20 years back also, the homes in the villages are constructed in such a way that there is no free mixing of males and females even in the household life. That's how they would lead. Even to some extent that in my childhood I had seen families who practice such way of lifestyle in the home, where there is not much free mixing between even husband and wife in the home. So brahmacharya is not just for the monks, even for those who are married and those who are aspiring to get married, even for them, for the males, this practice of brahmacharya is very much strictly recommended. Now, so the point is that it is not just women have to become chaste, men also have to practice brahmacharya very strictly. And in fact, if a man who becomes frivolous with women in any way, actually reduces his value very much. I practically had an experience of it recently. So we were conducting a Bhagavad Gita contest, and for correcting the papers, I was supposed to coordinate with a group of Matajis. They are all very elder, much above my age. Nevertheless, in the course of dealing with them, I just happened to once frivolously joke. I joked that Matajis, you are taking so much time. If only I put our boys, the whole thing would have happened in half a day. And that's it. The half minute of frivolity from my side had costed me a lot. I saw the kind of the future dealings that I had after that, so to say, joke, were not so good like before. So the point is that it is not that just women are supposed to be chaste, it is also that males are supposed to practice what they were supposed to practice brahmacharya, the principles of brahmacharya. That's why Vedic culture always recommends there should be a very good distance between males and females, and if at all dealings have to be happened, they have to be minimized, and if dealings have to happen, they have to happen based on respect. So, males may end up committing two mistakes. One is a person who becomes fanatic, who hates the opposite sex. That is one extreme. Because if a person simply has aversion for women in his heart, if a male has aversion for women, that is nothing but another side of attachment. They say that attraction and aversions are two sides of the same coin. So there was one brahmachari who was very fanatic, who would just wear everything. He was extremely fanatic. He would only wear, of course, he would wear saffron cloth, and then he would only use the pen whose color is saffron. He would use umbrella which is only saffron color. He would, everything, his bag should be the brahmachari, strong, strict brahmachari. So once one visitor came to temple and asked, where is the place where I can get some prasadam? Immediately got very angry. How dare you can ask me? Don't you know I am a brahmachari? I'm a strict brahmachari. I'm not supposed to make any contact with women. How can you ask? So, of course, the later part of the story is known. Eventually, he was not anymore there in that order. So, if a person becomes fanatic and then starts hating, and then uses a certain type of behavior which displeases everyone, that is one side. Another side is, as I already mentioned, to become very frivolous. If let us say if a Mataji comes to ask a brahmachari, Prabhuji, where is the place where I can take prasadam? The extreme side is, how can you ask? How can you talk to me? Another extreme side is, oh Mataji, you want prasadam? Oh, why only life membership? If you want, I can give you in Govinda's also. I have some donation which I got yesterday. You can take in Govinda's restaurant also. So that is another extreme. So the whole thing is that the dealings are to be done on the platform of respect, which becomes very convenient both for the females and males. So women are supposed to practice chastity, and then males are supposed to practice brahmacharya. And then what are the advantages that a person gets? Now when we practice these rules, we can see the end result at three platforms. First is physically, mentally and emotionally and spiritually. So as I was trying to get some statistics, one thing which I got is more than when people don't practice chastity and brahmacharya, what it results in the society. The current society has more than 65 million people who are actually suffering from STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. In fact, in US alone, 1 among 4 or 6, one website says 4, another says 6. 1 among 4 or 6 has, there is a disease called genital herpes, where a person, once he contracts the disease, he cannot actually get rid of the disease for life. The only solution is to continuously take antiviral medicines for rest of the life. So when people don't practice, even at physical level, there is a lot of discomfort. And what to speak about spreading of diseases like AIDS and other thing. So at physical level, a person becomes very comfortable when population at a greater level follows these principles of brahmacharya and chastity. Now coming back to mental and emotional level, we'll find that a lot of divorces and emotional turmoils or the heartbreaks that happen are because of the having unhealthy relationships in the families or in the couples. All this can be very much avoided when society follows these principles. That's why we will find, even though in Vedic times, males and females they would get married without much, not much, hardly they know each other before the marriage. They would get married and still they would remain lifelong with a comfortable household life, because the whole cultural setting was such that their dealings were on the platform of respect, trust and affection. Whereas when the same thing happens with the free mixing, the same dealings are conducted like marriage in a free mixing way, we will find it actually results. In fact, the rate of divorces that happen for love marriages is far, far, far more than that happen for arranged marriages. So we saw how physical level people get saved from such turmoil, and at mental level and at spiritual level, needless to say, because spiritually we are all part and parcels of Krishna. Our goal is actually to achieve love of God. And when our goal is actually to achieve Krishna Prem, obviously we cannot afford to put our heart on a material object or a material entity. So when we practice these principles, materially, physically it is comfortable, emotionally and mentally it leads to stability, and spiritually that becomes uplifting. Yes, because in the society where these principles are rigidly followed, we will find naturally the people can easily take to Krishna consciousness. It's practically, a lot of experience we get. When a person is practicing these things because of cultural setting up, if a person is practicing brahmacharya or chastity, because of the cultural setting up, he relatively can take up Krishna consciousness very quickly and practice nicely. Whereas when he doesn't follow, the obstacles becomes more. So in all three levels, we actually get benefited: physically, mentally or emotionally, and spiritually. And coming back to the point, our goal is actually not to just practice brahmacharya or chastity. It is just that we need to follow because we have this body. Because as spiritual beings, we are neither males nor females. It is like we practice traffic signal rules. But goal is not just to practice, it is to go ahead with our life. We have to practice because we are in the, whichever, in Mumbai, we have to practice whatever rules which are given in traffic. But not that we just want to travel by following the traffic rules. No, we want to come to Hare Krishna land and chant Hare Krishna. Goal is not just practicing. That's why if a person just simply sticks considering that, I am male or I am female, then actually goal is lost. In fact, a male who constantly either he becomes averse or he becomes attracted to female, in the next life he'll become female. And if a female does same thing, then she may end up becoming male, provided both of them have the sukriti to get a human form of life. Otherwise, they may end up becoming something else in the animal kingdom. So goal is not actually to practice and then increase our ahankara. Goal is to practice its roles as an aid for our spiritual life. So ultimately we all are, we have to practice Krishna consciousness nicely and then, and go back to Godhead. So we will find that the interesting story that I came across recently when I was visiting Srirangam, the very holy place in South India. So irrespective of whether a person is male or female, when a person's consciousness is fixed on the law, on Krishna, he gets extremely benefited. As we all know from the history, from 11th century to 13th century, late 13th century, there were several attacks that happened by Islamic invaders on Srirangam temple. A lot of loss that happened. So in one of the attack, actually, they managed to cover up the big deity with a stone wall, and then they managed to save the big deity. And then small deity, which is Utsa Vigraha, they call very lovingly Nam Perumal. Nam Perumal means, Nam means our, Perumal means Lord. Nam Perumal means our Lord. So the local devotees very affectionately deal with the Utsa Vigraha in Srirangam. So the Nam Perumal deity actually is taken away for safety. But in another attack, which was very surprise, in one of the procession that was happening for Nam Perumal deity, so suddenly Muslims attacked, and then they managed to take the deity. So they had taken the deity and then kept it in, they had taken them to Delhi. And then they were putting in the whatever. They have that collection of so many deities. So this became one of the deity in their storehouse. So the daughter of Malik Kafir, who was that time, I think, Sultan or whatever, the king. So she was once going through, and then she got very much attracted to this deity, Nam Perumal, because this deity is known for reciprocating with devotees. In fact, even till date, of course, I can't verify, but they say that till now, even now, deity actually speaks to priests and devotees. So this deity started attracting the girl of the Sultan. And then she took this deity to her private quarters. And then every day she was having such nice, affectionate dealings with this deity. Deity was talking also. And one day deity told, "Hare, what is this? In your palace, there are a lot of non-veg. I'm a vegetarian. I need a vegetarian food." So then she started offering the deity chapati, butter, and sugar. So every day she used to offer. And the deity would take also. And then she would do such nice service to the deity. She would bathe the deity. She would dress the deity in hairstyle with that checkered lungi. And she would offer the food in certain nice way. And then finally, obviously, so the local devotees explained that Nam Perumal wanted a change. That's why he had chosen to go to Delhi. So he had a nice reciprocation with this Muslim daughter of the Sultan. And then naturally the devotees in Srirangam were facing a lot of separation. So finally many priests, they came together, and then they disguised themselves as the cultural performers. So they went to Sultan and sang nice songs and danced very nicely, nice musical instruments they played. And then finally Sultan said, "Oh, so what do you want? I want to gift you something." Then he said, "Oh my dear king, we just want one thing. We just want our Nam Perumal. Nothing else we want." He said, "Okay, go to storehouse. Whatever you want, you take it." And then they go to storehouse. And then they find, everybody is there. So many deities all over India are there, but Nam Perumal is not there. And they said, "Yahan pe nahi hai." No, it's not there. And they says, "Okay, there is only one deity which is left, but that is in our private quarters of our princess." And then they say, "This is the deity that we want." And then the Sultan becomes, "Come on, my daughter is very much attached to it. I can't, give it." And then they very much request, "See, this is the only thing we want." And then Sultan says, "Okay, no problem. When my daughter sleeps, there is almost 6 hours gap that you get. So immediately after she goes to deep sleep, you take the deity and run away to best of your speed. And then actually do that. And then this princess, this Muslim princess, when she gets up, she finds that a deity is missing. She becomes extremely hesitant and she said, no, at any cost I want the deity. And then actually it is said that the king sent the daughter and with a lot of army to retrieve the deity back. But anyway, Vaishnavas are very intelligent. They didn't take any time. In fact, they didn't take the deity directly to Srirangam. They expected that king will come back and take it. So they took the deity to Tirupati, where they hid for many months. And then after a long time, they actually brought the deity to Srirangam. And then it is said that after some time, this princess, she was in such separation from Nam Perumal, she actually comes to Srirangam. She actually disappeared in front of deity. And they say that actually Nam Perumal had actually accepted her wife. So even till now they call that Muslim princess as Tuluka Nancharya. Tuluka actually, Tuglak Nancharya means it's a Muslim. Nancharya actually refers to wife. Tuluka Nancharya they call. And even till now, once in a year, Lord Nam Perumal officially marries this princess every year. And then every day, generally in South India, we have only rice items. So pulihora or curd rice, I don't know, all that, vada something. So you don't find North Indian items that they offer to the deities. So even till now, every day in the breakfast, as a token of love by this Muslim princess to the Nam Perumal, every day they actually offer chapati, butter and sugar. Until now, in one of the Abhisheks, they dress Nam Perumal with a lungi, with a check lungi, because that's the style of Islamic informal wear in those days. And then they actually dress the Lord with that check lungi and then perform Abhishek. So the point is that whether irrespective of whichever body we are in, whether it is male or female, when we practice these principles and then focus on Krishna, the end result is going to be extraordinary. Because ultimately Lord is not going to see whether the love is offered by male body or female body. He only sees the quality of consciousness. So I'll end here. So briefly we discussed today why scriptures have such descriptions like what is mentioned now. Second thing we discussed is the role of punishment in the Vedic culture. Third thing we discussed is the chastity, the principle of chastity that is recommended for the woman. Fourth is about the principles of brahmacharya that is to be practiced by males. And then result of practicing these principles is that a society gets benefited at all platforms, physically, mentally, emotionally and spiritually. And finally we discussed that the end goal is actually to not to stuck to follow rules and regulations which are based on the bodily consciousness, but it's to develop love of Godhead. And then we saw the example of Nam Perumal and Muslim queen. Okay, thank you very much. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So any comments or questions, sir?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful class. So elaborately explaining the context and the whole situation and ideal situation. So you are explaining that how such descriptions are honestly presented in Shastras so that we are ultimately guided to liberation. People understand that. So I was just
the descriptions are there that even great personalities are not free from such problems. What to speak of all of us. So a sadhaka has to be extremely careful. It's a kind of a danger warning given for sadhakas. And end result is that all these personalities, they engage themselves in service and then go towards Krishna. That's the, yes.
So you are also referring to the literature by Katyayana Rishi. So there is a famous organization in Pune, which they say that yes, you engage in such activities and gradually you will get liberation. So then how to understand the difference? Because they...
No, we find that even in Yayati or even in Pururava's case, when they engaged themselves in such activities, obviously within the realm of scriptural injunctions. So even though all these kings, they were engaged themselves in these activities, they had followed their dharma very much properly. And then ultimately, only in that way, they actually achieve liberation. So even a householder, he has to follow the dharma of the householder. It is not just the enjoyment part that he gets. Along with that, he gets a lot of responsibility. He's supposed to give charity. He's supposed to invite Vaishnavas and Brahmanas to his home and then treat guests very nicely. So it is not a single activity of sense pleasure. It is the whole set of instructions that a person gets from the Vedic literature. So only those who follow that fully will gain the liberation or come close to Krishna at the end of the day. Not that a person just takes a small part of the scripture and enjoys, illicitly and unlimitedly without following the other aspect of that particular ashrama or dharma. Then there is no question of getting, and that's what typically happens nowadays, where there is a lot of free mixing and the end result is actually more suffering by the people. Any comment? Any comment you want?
Well, one comment that I have is that we see these examples happening just before we enter into the Sunam Bonam, right? The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where we have the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So we can understand that if you want to actually be able to understand the pastimes of the Lord, then you have to be done with these other activities that will divert you away from understanding the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, one will mistaken the pastimes of the Lord as ordinary, especially the Lord's dealings with the gopis. Unless one has completely finished with the idea that I can enjoy in this material world, then they'll mistaken Lord's pastimes for ordinary dealings between men and women. So therefore we get a warning just before coming to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam to be careful and don't try to prematurely enter into the Lord's pastimes, especially in Vrindavan with his devotees, unless one is properly prepared. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.